species. I'm gonna present about my research area in the following order. First, I'm gonna introduce our research area, and after that, I'm going to explain about engineering of Candida tropicalis. Finally, I'm going to introduce about engineering of Candida viswanti. Before I move on, I will briefly introduce about our laboratory's research area. We usually do metabolic engineering by using many yeasts. For example, we have to first screen wild-type yeasts, which we are going to use, and after that, we have to do metabolic engineering. For example, we could do like CRISPR-Cas9 system or many systems to engineer that kind of yeasts. And finally, we have to do cultural optimization. For example, we could change carbon sources, or we could change pH, or we could change like buffer, or like those kind of things. Furthermore, we do food upcycling system. Rather than using disinfecting media, we could use food waste as a carbon sources. So we could make our media much cheaper, and we could solve environmental problem. When we do this kind of work, we usually use CRISPR-Cas9 system. CRISPR-Cas9 system is one of the systems which we can edit genome engineering. This is a very high precision targeting engineering, and it has many strengths about it. For example, it is relatively cost effective, and we have to measure one gene and we have to measure the other gene, and the time period we call the turnaround time. For CRISPR-Cas9 system, the turnaround time is relatively shorter than other technology. Also, recently in Korea, antibiotic resistance is the very big issue, and I think global world that is the major issue. When we do CRISPR-Cas9 system, we are engineering in a genomic base, so when we do in a culture media, we don't have to put antibiotics. So we can say that CRISPR-Cas9 system is antibiotic-free system. So using this kind of CRISPR-Cas9 system, we can delete some of the genes and we could just change promoter, so we could overexpress some of the genes, or we could make inducible system. Also, we could insert some of the heterologous gene, and finally, currently I'm working on editing multiple heterologous gene at just once. When we do this kind of work using yeast, we first consider using Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is very famous strain, so I think everybody in this room know about this strain. It produces lots of ethanol, and it has plenty of genetic engineering tools. However, when we want to produce the other thing, for example, we want to produce protein, then we have to consider using PKR pasteurized because it has lots of protein expression system. And today's topic, I want to produce dicarboxylic acid, which I call DCA. We have to focus on Candida tropicalis because it has many DCA or DDA related pathways, so we could produce very lots of higher level of DCA or DDA. However, when we want to use this kind of non-conventional strain, for example, PKR pasteurized or Candida tropicalis, we have to consider the other things. For example, we have to construct strain-specific vectors to the CRISPR-Cas9 system, and we have to do sequencing to the specific gene which we want to use because it is not really annotated relatively than Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And we have to consider this HDR and NHJ pathway. HDR pathway, when we cut two strands of DNA and we put some donor, we could just engineer in an order which we want. However, when it comes to NHEJ, when we break two strands of DNA and it will be just randomly attached, so we could say we have to make higher HDR and lower NHEJ. So, in order to do that, for this kind of non-conventional yeasts, we have to extend homology arms. For example, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, just 20 base pair might be okay to do it. However, for Candida tropicalis, we have to use at least 600 base pair of homology arms. So, using this kind of system, we first try to delete some of the genes because deleting some of the genes is much more easier than inserting some of the genes. The first target which we selected was URAS3. URAS3 is very useful selection marker because it is an observatory marker. So when we delete this URAS3 gene, we could just use that strain in the next stage to do a transformation to modify the other gene. And also, we could easily figure the transformation efficiency based on the counter selection using 5 of FOA. So, if you can see in the slide, in the middle of the slide, we have figured out the counter by counter selection by using 2 plates. And finally, we did a colony PCR and sequencing, so we figured out that we could efficiently delete this URAS3 gene. In the next stage, we try to delete this AD2 gene. AD2 gene is a very useful target to confirm the deletion efficiency because when we delete AD2 gene, in Nature East, AIR is converted to CAIR. However, when AD2 is deleted, then AIR will be accumulated, and AIR's color is red. So when red color AIR is accumulated in East, that East color will change to pink. As you can see in the middle of the slide, when AD2 gene is not deleted, so when we use white strain, the color is white. However, when AD2 gene is deleted, we can see that color turns to pink. So, using this kind of system, we could figure out that by using our system, we could do 66% of transformation efficiency. We also confirmed this by using colony PCR. So we could figure out that we could efficiently delete some of the genes in Candida tropicalis, and the next stage is to insert some of the genes. When we insert some of the genes in Candida tropicalis, we have to consider 2 things. First thing is Candida tropicalis is on a CUZ plate, which CUZ is actually have to be translated in leucine. However, when it is CUZ plate, they mistranslate CUZ as a serine. So, in order to translate leucine in those kind of CUZ plate strains, we have to avoid using CUZ instead of using TTA or TTG.